Hi guys, and hold tight. Welcome to today's plumberparts.co.uk video where I'm going to show you how to wire up the wiring centre of an S-plan. At the moment it looks like spaghetti junction, but hopefully at the end of this you're going to get a good idea as to how we wire that little box up. I'm making this video in response to some of the comments you guys did on a video I did a couple of weeks ago where we used light bulbs to show where the lives go. And some of you said, look, we just want to see that box wired up. Also, David Wright, who I've got just here, said no crimp on bootlace ferrules on that multi-strand cable, James. Naughty boy. And you know what? I looked into it, mate. Definitely going to be doing that. So I went on my Amazon store, got myself a crimping kit and a load of ferrules, and we're going to use that in today's video as well. So anyway, let's get on with this video. We're going to start off with everything looking like this, absolutely horrific, and with the ending looking beautiful like this. Remember everybody, to hold tight. Let's go.
And remember guys, hit the subscribe button, bang the bell so you get a notification. You'll find links to our Amazon store, Patreon, AL Army live videos and interactive house below. Let's get on with the video.
Right then, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get in our live, our earth and our neutral. These are our main feeds in here, and that's what we're going to do. I just want to say about this video as well is that it's going to be about if you don't have links, if you haven't got the back of the box to work off, you're doing the whole system from scratch. That's what we're doing here. We're not following a playlist that's already been put in, that sort of thing. And we're gonna crimp like mad, I tell you now. So I'm gonna get my live, my neutral and my earth in their individual blocks.
I'm gonna come clean right now guys, in a northern voice, oh my god. But you're not often gonna find wiring centres this clean, this easy to get at. It's just one of those things. Equally as rare in wiring centres is the fact that you've got little buzz bars on each side. So if you look at the left hand side neutral area where I've just put my neutral wire in, you'll see that there's a buzz bar there, and also you'll see a buzz bar where I'm just putting the earth wire in as well. You don't usually get that. So now that is our main live earth and neutral. You're also going to notice as well, the sneaky eyed among you, that the clamp going in for that is slightly broken. That's why the main bit of sheath of that bit of wire there is hanging down. Normally on a proper job I'd whip off one of the other clamps and pop that on there just to make good, but for demo purposes I thought I'd just point it out to you anyway.
Right, so now I've done that, I'm going to identify all the neutral wires and we're going to get those neutrals bunched up as well. So if you're looking at this, we've got a neutral wire here for this 2-port valve. We've got a neutral wire here for this 2-port valve. We've got a neutral that we're eventually going to be running to our time clock. We've got a neutral here to our boiler and our pump, and this is where you've got to be careful sometimes. This here is not going to be neutral. This is going to be a switch live back from our thermostat. And we know that because it runs down here into our thermostat, okay? It just runs around here out the corner, but that is definitely our thermostat one just there. And this is what we're using today as our room thermostat here, okay? So what I'm going to do now is just bunch up all those identified neutrals.
I'm probably going to say this a few times in this video, but if you get the neutrals out of the way and then the earths out of the way, you start to really whittle away all the wires that you'll need to work on and things start to look a little bit clearer. Just to say as well, if you have a proper set of wire strippers, your life is going to be so much easier. Also guys, look how absolutely wicked this crimping tool is, how much neater it makes everything. I'm not against putting neutrals together or earths together when it comes to using crimping and ferrule tools, or even if they haven't got that and they can fit nicely into connector block, there's no reason that you can't fit them into one connector block thing if you know they're getting a safe, good, proper connection.
Right, once we've done those neutrals, we've got them out the way, now we do the same with our earths. So we consolidate them over this side here. As you can see, the buzz bar there at the back basically links all of those together. So do exactly what I've done then. And you'll notice now that we're whittling away the wires that we've got to work on. We're making the job more and more simpler. And as you can see, these ferrules are making it really, really neat inside that box.
So I'm hoping with the first few stages of this job that we've watched together, you're starting to realise there's a little bit of a theme here. We're just getting rid of the neutrals, we're just getting rid of the earths. We've already got our first main sort of primary live in. Still using the crimping tool, still using those buzz bars. Once we've got this stage out of the way, we can then move on to our lives, distributing them to the programmer, sending them back, then using our thermostats, and then eventually powering our 2-port valves and our boiler and pump.
The next thing to do is to wire up the earth live neutral and switch live out for the hot water and the switch live out for the heating on your programmer down here. Then we can go back into the main center and then start bringing everything together.
So here I usually begin by getting my neutral and my live installed. You can see we've already got the earth in. Then it's always handy again, use some ferrules here. Make sure you've got that lovely connection on there as well. There's much less risk of there being an arc, spark, heat, and then of course a fire. And then what we do, we use the back plate of the programmer to know where we're sending out our hot water on and our heating on. And for that, I'm using the red and black wire. That's the black wire for heating on, heating cool, that's the radiators, and the red wire for hot water on, hot water cool. That is for your hot water out of the taps. As you can also see, the white wire is also having a ferrule popped on it, and we're just popping that into terminal number 2. That is going to be an unused terminal, but we're also going to take that white wire and blank that off at the top as well. Finally finishing off, just making sure that the programmer goes on and covers everything up.
What we've got here then is this bunch of wires here comes from our programmer and goes to our programmer. Then what we've narrowed it down now that we've got the control wires here for our 2-port valves. We've got the control wire here for our thermostat, for our room thermostat, and then we've also got the control wires here for our cylinder thermostat for our hot water. So now what I need to do is get this live here into our main top area of lives here. This is all going to be used for switching and serving permanent lives. Firstly, I'm going to put a little loop in there to number 1, okay? Can't believe how big these crimps are. How neat they keep the job. Now, when we put this one into here, we also just want to send a loop over to our number 2 just there, okay? That's going to be our permanent switch live down to our 2-port valve switches. Easy, innit? See, we're just sort of going through it methodically.
So there we go, getting that first live into the sort of top buzz bar. I know it isn't really a buzz bar because it doesn't have that connection across the back, but just see the whole top long strip as where we send our lives, where we distribute them, and where we put them back. Whilst you're watching us do this, I want to tell you a little bit about the AL Army as well, guys. Each Thursday at 7 p.m, I get together with my patrons who are mentioned here to sit down for an hour with a beer and just have a good old chinwag. You'll get sneak peeks of next week's video. We're having a walkthrough of next week's video this Thursday. You can ask me direct questions in the chat and also make suggestions for future videos. We'll also sit down and discuss the beer that we're drinking, but don't worry, you don't have to like beer. You can sit down with us and have a cup of tea too. So there'll be loads of behind the scenes sneak peeks, chit chat about plumbing, obviously the odd sampling of beer, and I don't think it's going to be something you want to miss out. So click join the AL Army in the link below and I'll mention you in dispatches in next week's video. And for those of you who've already enlisted, I'll see you this Thursday at 7 p.m. live for chit chat and a couple of beers.
Right, now we can install the live supply that goes onto the live terminal of our controller, and I'm going to put that in at number 1.
It's a good idea for you guys to pause this video here just so you can get a good look at that link, and there we go, there's our live going into the controller there.
So now it's time to send a permanent live down to our switch lives in both of these little 2-port valves here. You can use the grey wires out and the orange wires back, or the orange wires out and the grey wires back. It doesn't make a difference, it's just a switch. People get really funny about this. When we've done this, we're going to note down under the box what we've done, so anytime anyone flips this up and comes to it, they'll know where everything goes.
So this is where some of the eagle-eyed among you are going to realise that ferrules can be a bit of a problem, especially if you're installing a plan system like I am here. What you could do is link over another live over the top of everything and have that feed separate greys and separate oranges back. Therefore, if you have to do a changeover or anything, you don't have to cut out a ferrule. But there is a way around this, and that is to leave plenty of slack in the wires inside your wiring centre. I understand that that's not always possible. Sometimes you're right on the end of a length of wire and that's just one of those things. But I just thought it'd be a good idea to point out that if I was going to be fitting this system on a job, I probably wouldn't be doubling up the ferrules when it came to the lives like I am here.
Right then guys, so you see now that we're getting somewhere, we've got all those things in. All I've got to do now, and if you look at it, everything's getting so much more simpler, isn't it? But look, we've whittled it down, haven't we? Everything's getting a lot cleaner, a lot easier. So follow me through these last steps and then we'll get it all livened up and I'll show it working for you. First thing I'm going to do, this is going to be heat and that's going to be hot water. Yippee-ki-yay! So we've got our greys going out and then we've got our oranges going back. Now these oranges only go to one place. They only go to the switch live to the boiler and the pump, or just the live to the boiler and the pump. It depends how you've got that all wired up. Sometimes you've got pump overruns and stuff like that.
Here I am consolidating our orange switch feeds back into one ferrule. Remember what I said a minute ago, guys? It's probably a better idea that you keep the lives separate, but for this video, I'm just going to keep them together. It means I use less ferrules, doesn't it? And they're like, well, expensive. Anyway, so I'm popping that in there now. And now I'm actually stripping off as well the live supply down to the boiler and the pump too. I will put that next to our orange back in the number 4 terminal. So our oranges are going to come back in the number 3 terminal. Effectively, the electrical supply out to the boiler and the pump will come out of number 4, and then I'll put a little loop in the top of them as well. Also, I'll just pop a ferrule on our redundant white wire and pop that out of the way so that it's obvious that it's not currently part of the system. This will also be noted down on the underside of the cover when we finish the job.
Seriously, this ferrule thing is absolutely class. I love it so much. It just makes things so much cleaner. But mate, what a class call, man. I love that when someone comments something and I look at the tool and I'm like, you know what? That is the way this should be done. Yeah, it's good. You know, you don't want your YouTubers to be infallible, do you? That'd just be mental.
So if we have a quick look, number 1 is our feed in that goes down to our programmer. We've also linked that to the grey wires that go to the switches on our 2-port valves. We then have our oranges coming back, and then they loop over with that loop we've just fitted there over to the boiler and the pump feed. So that side of all the electrics is now done.
Right then, so all we've got left to install now is our switch lives out from our programmer here. They're going to go through the thermostats like I showed you in the last video. And then when those thermostats switch, they're going to send a live to our motor lives on our 2 ports here. So that's all we need to do now, is just nice and neatly get that all done. And then we'll go through a run through, we'll liven up everything, and I'll show you where everything goes in a minute.
Remember what I said earlier on, the black wire coming back from the programmer, which is the one we've got at the moment, will feed down to the live supply of the room thermostat, because the black wire is the feed from the programmer saying, I want heat now. But it's got to go through a thermostat first, isn't it? Because sometimes, even if the programmer wants a bit of heat, the thermostat might say, well, the room's too hot already, we don't want it on yet. And then look there, we've got the red coming out from the hot water, exactly the same principle. Apart from this time, we're going down the white common wire to the side of the tank thermostat, and then that is going to be switched back up the yellow wire in a minute. Hopefully my little schematic drawings along the way are helping with my really unhelpful voiceovers at the moment.
So now we've just got 4 wires left. We've got our switch live back from our room thermostat that gets turned on there. As you can see, this is blue, and this can be quite problematic. Sometimes what you'll find in one of these boxes, you'll see that someone has wrapped around a little bit of red insulation tape around a blue wire. You'll find this quite regularly, and that means, this is actually a live. It's not a neutral, so be aware, basically. It's not the best way of doing things, you know, but a lot of the time you're going to find that it's bloody important that that's there in the first place. Some of you are going to say you should rip the whole house out, but what if this wire goes through, you know, 2 or 3 stories and you've got to go back and trace it all out just to make sure of that? So that's what a lot of people do, is they'll put a load of red tape around that blue. We've also got our switch live here back from our tank stat. So look, you've seen how I've divided this out. So we've got 2 wires coming in here. We've got a switch live coming in from our programmer. Then we've got a live going out to the switch on the stat. That's going to come back on the blue, and that's going to sit next to this. So then everything then, then we know that this lot here is for the heating valve, and then this lot here is for the hot water valve. That's how I tend to wire my systems up. And then when I go back to them, I can see them. But we'll write it all out on a nice piece of paper on the back of the cover plate, so then when someone takes it off, they'll always know what's going on.
So I'm just going to talk over this to reiterate it to you. We're putting our little bit of tape around that blue wire there again. That is the feedback from our room thermostat. So if we look at it in a schematic way, we have a live coming from our programmer, goes through the room thermostat, and then it goes into the motor of our 2-port valve for the heating system. And then that particular live ends there. That's it. The switch lives we've already put in, haven't we, on that left-hand side with those greys and oranges. And exactly the same principle works for the hot water side. We have a programmer live out, it goes through the thermostat on the side of the tank and then goes off to the live of the hot water 2-port valve.
So we've got everything installed, I've got the power back on. Let's call for hot water on here and let's turn the hot water live on here. That's now going to send a live to the hot water motor. And if I just rest my finger on the arm there, I can feel that moving open. Remember, we've got our lives and our switch live here waiting to be switched down to the boiler and the pump about now. There we go. The reason we've got a system like this is because we want to tell the boiler that the valve is open. We don't want the boiler and the pump to come on before the valve opens up. So look, let's get this up to temperature. So let's warm this stat up. That should get nice and warm fairly quickly. I don't think it's... Right, there we go. And that's just turned that off because the hot water's up to temperature. Now we don't need it anymore. Let's try the heating side. So at the moment, the heating stat is turned down. Turn that up. You can hear that click. Rest my finger on here. Yeah, that's opening at the moment. Just a matter of time before the micro switch in there is switched and it will send a live to our boiler and our pump. Just there. There we go. And that is basically how it works. If you look up here, I've now noted out everything that happens in here, where my links are, and everything else. I mean, it couldn't get like, to be honest, if you open up one of these and you see it laid out like that, you're into a winner. One thing I would say is that leave a little bit of slack here. Let's just turn these off. Oh, that was a good catch. So if you do have to, if anyone has to come in here and do any work, or they have to change things, or they have to move wires or whatever, they've got a little bit of slack within this box here to make sure that they can do that. But now, look, the one thing I always say is a good sign of a nice install is if the box lid goes on nice and easy, which it should do here. He says, there you go, that's it. So that is now actually on there, and that's, once those two screws up and all those screws are in, that's what this system looks like. That's it. So then guys, there you go. You've seen how to install a system like this. You've seen how we use ferrules. There are different ways of doing this sort of work, isn't there? Like for instance, we've put two in on here, but you don't have to do that. You can put two and link them over at the top. Sometimes that's a bit more helpful. So if someone comes in to do any work, they know that they can take out those little bits without having to cut the ferrules out. That is definitely a bit of a help. But for this thing, I just wanted to show you, it's an easy way then to show you how these systems work. We don't have to put loads of loops in and stuff like that, and all that sort of thing. If you want to buy these things here, these crimpers, these ferrule crimps, they're absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't done, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button as well. That's really, really important. So you get a notification every time you upload a new video. Obviously hit the like and comment below. I'll be answering your comments on Wednesday night, so make sure you get all your comments in by sort of Monday evening, and I'll be able to answer them then. Anyway, I'll see you in our next video, guys. Remember, especially in these troubled times, to hold tight. Love you very much. And I did disinfect my hand then. Oh, it smells lovely, this stuff. See you soon, guys. Hold tight.
How do I get this S-Plan system wired up? I don't understand the orange and green wires. I just need some help from a reliable source. I was trying to find out where the wires go. I was wondering, why is there a yellow? But when the time came, I had to admit that I didn't know. And that's when my wife booted up the Google Chrome. Type in the search bar, those words are plumberparts. Click on the video, it's time to let you know. Where do those wires go? And how does the boiler know that we've got adequate flow? And that system's our go. How do you know your boiler can go? Because I watched this little video and I clicked subscribe because I know exactly where that yellow
you go, that song was selected by the AL Army on last week's AL Army live stream. If you want to join our live stream AL Army every week, Thursday night at 7 PM, then click the link below and sign up to my Patreon. Speak to you soon, guys. Hold tight.